So before I start this, the fully edited version will be up on my YouTube channel. And this is the Asterysk podcast, episode number 10. My name is Rodney, and I would chat with people that are doing really good things that I find really cool. And today, we have a very special guest. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Sam Kojo. I'm from the UK. I run Kojos Trick Lab, and I've been tricking for 11 years. Too long.
Nice. So, what have you been up to recently? Oh, anything?
A lot. It's been a busy, all over the place year for me. I moved to Portugal because I was gonna live in Portugal, but lots of things didn't work with visas. So I'm moving back to the UK next year. So I don't know. It's just been a busy year with a lot of setbacks, but lots of things went well as well. So it's all good. Yeah.
Feel it.
Yeah.
So, especially if you're so busy, what's your tricking schedule look like right now?
I still trick. So tricking's kind of, I make tricking the priority in my life pretty much. I see my tricking as more important than my work. Like I make sure I get my work done, but my training I put as number one, because you have like a whole lifetime to, if you want to build a business or a career in whatever, but you only get so many years of really good tricking time. Like you could still be training, like I want to still be training, and especially still doing stuff on the trampoline, moving around into my 50s or 60s. I'd love to be able to, but the amount of time you actually have to push yourself to your peak and perform as well as possible is very limited. So I'm trying to make the most of that time now while I still have it. So everything else is kind of secondary to that. So I normally, it depends on where I am and how much access I have to training, but I trick most days. Yeah.
Very cool. Have you seen you trick under that bridge? It's so cool looking.
The bridge is good. The bridge is a good spot. So the bridge is because that was when I was in Porto. I'm in the south of Portugal now. But in Porto, I didn't have a gym to train at, because there was one gym, but I couldn't really train there because so the session was only an hour long, and there were so many gymnasts in there that sometimes they'd take over the whole floor. So I'd go all the way to this gym and I just wouldn't even be able to trick at all. So it was a massive waste of my time. And it was just a bad vibe for me. I was like, I could just be under a bridge, you know? I could be doing what I want under a bridge, no interruption. Instead, I'm like just getting into the session, and then they just take over the whole floor, and I'm waiting for like 20 minutes, half an hour. And it just wasn't worth it to me. I thought it's more productive to train simpler moves. At least the bridge is dry. You got shelter. You got dust, which is nice and cushioned, you know, keep it safe. Only problem is it gets in your lungs. I used to breathe in a lot of dust, and also it gets your clothes like filthy. But apart from that, it's a good spot. Would recommend it.
I gotta find my bridge around my house.
Yeah, you need to find your local bridge.
So tricking can look really confusing to like the average person. So how would you explain that to somebody about what tricking is?
In the simplest terms I can, I'd say tricking is mixing spinning kicks with flips into combinations that look cool is the goal, really. When you think about it, I think the primary goal of tricking is to try and make combinations that look as impressive to watch as possible. I see as the main thing. Yeah.
Okay. In your own words, what's your favorite aspect about tricking that you enjoy the most about it? Like, why do you think it's so cool, you know?
I don't know. I feel like I could have gotten into a lot of different movement-based stuff because I always found I like just flips in general cool. Tricking specifically, I like how hard it is. I like the challenge of tricking. It's not easy to be good at any trick. Like, and you never run out of things to practice. It's like you can have done a move for a decade, but it doesn't mean there's not loads of things you can improve about that one trick. So, yeah, it keeps me entertained because of that. I I really enjoy the progression part. I noticed that about myself. I really realized that like 4 or 5 years ago that it's different to me than it is to other people. Before I used to assume that everyone felt the same, but they don't. Some people enjoy how it feels to do the movements the most. Other people just enjoy the vibe of being at the sessions and the community. For me, like the actual improvement side, and I don't mean just learning new moves, I can be just as happy making one tiny change to my head position in a trick as I am with learning a brand new trick. I just really enjoy that feeling of improving at something. It just feels good to me.
Yeah, you can literally see like it's in front of you. Like you literally see your how much you've gotten better, and like it's there. Like it's tangible. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You get that feedback, especially if you film everything you do. Then you can really, really see that feedback all the time, and it just pushes you to do more. Like within a session, you can always see a change in something. Even if it's a really bad session, you'll probably do something the best you've ever done it if you like, if you know how to work with your body and go for things that your body can handle on that day. There's normally something you can improve at, and I just feel accomplished after tricking when I've like improved at something.
So let's say you weren't tricking, and is there anything hobbies that you're doing right now, or anything you would do instead of tricking if you were never passionate about it?
See, it's hard. It's hard for me to say because I've gone pretty deep into tricking, to be honest, in all aspects. So it makes it hard to imagine how things might have gone. I mean, first off, I think lots of different movement-based sports I could have got into. Like before I did any flips on the ground or anything, then I did trampolining. Um, the problem was I went to trampoline classes and the person teaching it could only do like a front flip barely. So there was no one pushing me. They just had me doing basic things. But if I'd gone to the trampoline class and it was someone who's really passionate about trampolining and they'd been teaching me all these hard moves and pushing me and challenging me, and then I got into going to competitions, then I could have become a trampolinist. Same happened when I went to a tumbling class. If there was someone inspiring me, pushing me there, could have been a tumbler. And then that happened with free running. I started free running and I was really into that. But everyone I did it with kind of stopped. And I was kind of doing tricking as well at the time. And I just got more inspired to trick. So I think it could have gone a number of ways. I really enjoy a lot of different, really active sports, things that are hard to do, that require your whole body. I don't like little fiddly things. I like using my whole body. Feels good. Yeah. So outside of that, I don't know, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know what else I would have gotten into. I'm quite into. I mean, I like editing stuff and creating things now. That's kind of a new passion over the last 3 or 4 years. Um, I like business stuff. That's quite fun to me, actually. Trying to make things happen and organizing things. It can be stressful at times, but I do enjoy it. I enjoy my job.
Yeah, there's you put words to action. Like you created KTL, and like a few have a bunch of business ideas, but they never put it like into like a platform. So it's really cool to see. Uh,
Yeah. It took a lot to make it actually come to life because other people had tried to do the same thing pretty much. Like I remember when I started, there was this guy that messaged me. I'd never heard of this guy or his project, but he had a website. Well, he was launching a website called Trick Lab. It was called Trick Lab, and it was like the same thing. And when I saw it, I was like, "Oh shit, I'm doing the exact same thing." But what he'd done is I looked on his Instagram and stuff, and he'd had posts saying how it was coming soon, and that was like over a year ago, and it still hadn't launched yet. from having the idea to make the website to the website being live happened within like a month for me. So like, yeah, I think I kind of just thought, yeah, that site just isn't going to happen anyway. So, you have to just take action. Like before I even launched Kojos Trick Lab, I already quit my job and just went 100% at it. I was like, I'm just going to, yeah, I'm always quitting jobs and going 100% and stuff. I've done that before. Yeah.
So, at this point in your career, is there anything you're chasing, combo or trick that you really want to land or get down?
Oh yeah, big time. Big time. No, there's so I've shifted my tricking goals a lot over the years as I've come to realize what my own strengths and weaknesses are. Yeah, really coming to terms with how it doesn't matter how much I train, I'm still not gonna be as good in areas where other people are much more suited to it. Like I'm 6 foot tall and like nearly 90 kg. So I'm pretty big, which doesn't lend itself. You're not going to be moving like Zen if you're that big. It's why if you look at all the quad corkers in the world, none of them they're all so much smaller than me. And after traveling and meeting all these people, they're all so much smaller than me. Like people like Michael Guthrie and Nick Fry and all that, they're all tiny little people. And it made me realize like, what is my strength then? And the benefit of being bigger is like, if I perfect a jackknife versus someone who's really tiny perfects a jackknife, my one's going to look better. Whereas me versus a tiny person doing quad cork, my quad cork's always going to be way more of a struggle than theirs. So that made me think I should really put a lot of energy into extended things, because when you're bigger, extended things, if you can do it really well, it's just going to look better than someone who's smaller. Yeah, they just won't be able to do it as good. So that's why over the last couple of years I've been doing a lot of helicoptero stuff. I'm trying to get really good at swing 9 double hypers and swing 12 triple. I want to be able to do swing 12 triple, grabbing my leg mid combo. I'm trying to get GMS helicoptero. I want to get shuriken cutter scissor as well, with like grabbing the leg so I can vanish out of that into stuff. Like imagine shuriken cutter scissor, vanish raise, swing 12 triple. That would look sick. Or swing 9 double snapu. Just things that will look good because my body is doing it. That means rather than trying to go for the absolute highest level things that are just going to look incredible with me doing it, and there's not going to be anyone else who will be able to make it look quite as good. Like trying to really go towards my strengths is where I'm at with tricking at the moment.
Yeah, if I like Shosei makes a dub look fruitless, and because of that, it just doesn't look as cool. Like if a dude was like built a little more and taller, if he did a dub, I think it still looks more impressive. Just because like
more intense. Like you see more power going through it. Yeah, so things can look a bit too easy sometimes, but that's not to knock them. I think everyone has their own. It's like by someone like Shosei, then he's perfectly suited to be, the guy doing double fall D leg in, D leg out. Like he's the one to do that, isn't it? It's not going to work so well with someone who is much bigger.
Was there anything that you struggled on to wrap your head around that you have to really understand, like a trick?
Yeah, everything. No, most things. The whole raise family was especially hard to me because I kick my B-twist leg back in round-offs and cartwheels and Websters. So all of that side of things I found easier. Anything kicking the other leg back I found really hard. But from a lot of conditioning, doing leg raises and a lot of drills, it's gotten easier now. But I do realize, so this is after really struggling with raise about 8 years ago. At this point now, I realize I thought it was somewhat down to that, it being my bad leg to kick backwards, but it was more down to my understanding of technique. If I had me now teaching me back then how to raise, I would have been quite good at it probably within like 6 months. But there's just so many things where there's things that I've learned about that move this year after doing it for all this time. Like things that there's just so much that you don't notice, even when it seems obvious. Even if you've watched something thousands of times, there will always be details that you don't notice. It's hard to explain that to people because you'd think that by watching something frame by frame, you could see everything, but you don't, and you don't understand the importance of different things. You don't understand what the root cause is. Like you might see an arm in a certain place, and you think, well, I just need to throw my arm there, when really the arm is there because of where they've put their chest as they've stepped. Stuff like that. There's a lot of little details to learn. But yeah, raise family tricks, side swipe, touchdown raise. They were definitely the hardest for me.
Yeah, like TDR is a struggle for me. Like there's always slight energy leaks with my tech, and
Yeah.
I'm just, like, duct taping bits of it as much as I can, try to get it better every day.
How
It's
long have
hard.
you been doing it for?
Uh, I'd say for 4 months. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not long. No, that one's a battle. There's always going to be room for improvement. But I think it's a really good base trick to get. Like it helps a lot of other tricks. It is really not only it being a setup, just for all your side swipe and raise and stuff, being able to use that arm to reach for the ground in side swipe and even in snapu, you want to use that arm in the same way. So TDR is a really valuable trick to get good at, I think.
So with your tricking career, was it like uh was there moments like an aha moment where like your progression just skyrocketed, or was it a pretty linear process of progression for you?
It's been pretty up and down. It's kind of a lot of it has depended on my just life. Well, there's been the injury downs as well, but lots of it's just based on where my life is at the moment. Like this past year, I've still managed to improve, but it's been a really hard one. I've not had consistent gym access. I've had a lot of work to do because of a lot of personal life work with him trying to move country, which hasn't, we've tried with lots of things, but it's not worked out great. And then on the other side, then lots of business stuff, and then not having good gym access and not having a trampoline at home. Like having a trampoline at home is huge for progression. You improve so much faster. So yeah, the times when it's gone best, I'd say 2015 was when I improved a lot. And that was the first time I left a job. So I was sick of it. I used to work in an office. I used to work with insurance claims for road incidents. I remember deciding I'd quit because a bit of rubble, a bit of rock fell off a bridge, hit someone's car, and then I'm dealing with it. And I've got to read a 60-page bridge inspection report. And when I got that report to me, I was like, I'm done. It's time to leave. It's not worth it, you know? I'm reading a bridge inspection report. That's what I'm doing with my time. So after that, then I had to leave. And then I just kind of lived on coaching some gymnastic sessions, tricking one-to-ones. That's when we first started the Garrison as well, living with Kyle, Sean and Omid. So I had a trampoline in the garden, trickers to live with, and I was working at a gym. That's when I made lots of improvements. At the start of the year, I hadn't landed triple cork. At the end of the year, I was doing multiple J-step triple corks in a session and all kinds of things.
Dude,
Yeah.
I was watching your J Step tutorial. That block was insane. Like how you blocked that triple cork. That's a lot of
I know. I used to do J steps all the time. I don't do them anymore. I kind of retired them for a reason, actually, because I think they're cool. But to me, it's because J step was my first double cork setup. So when other people saw it as oh, TDR raise is easy, but J step that's a man setup. Other people thought stuff like that. For me, I found that easier. So I always thought the other setups were cooler. And I also see J-Step's a hard one to use in combos. It's that's why I moved over to gainer switch, because gainer switch you can just put in the middle of any combo. Getting really good at gainer switch triple cork is so much more useful because J-Step always has to be at the start, and then it's awkward to do stuff out of. If you do a powerful one, it takes up the whole floor. I kind of retired them because they're just not that useful for tricking combos. But I might make a comeback one day.
uh, let's see. So I haven't really been in the community for very long. I've been tricking for around 4 years now, and I haven't really been able to see it evolve from what it was before. So how has the tricking community when you first started How was it like back then compared to now today?
It's hard. It's really hard to judge it. I'd say, like when I think of the tricking community, I kind of just think of my experience at gatherings because the rest of it isn't that different. I guess the way people share tricking media now, the way people share clips is pretty different because of social media. But the actual community itself isn't that different. Like when I started, there were still people having stupid arguments about the names of tricks. People did that exact same thing. Um, yeah, with there's still stupid drama, but people were also supportive of each other's tricks. It was kind of similar. And then in terms of gatherings, the feel of gatherings is pretty similar. I'd say the main thing that's changed is me. I'm just very different than when I first went to a gathering. Like when I first went to a gathering, I was too shy to like. I didn't even speak to anyone. I don't think I talked. I talked to like the one person I went with the whole time, and I just kind of stood by the side of the floor, just watching everything, like blown away, watching Vivian Yulu going miles in the air. But now it's like I'm just much more. I know most people at the event, and I talk to everyone. I'm normally teaching people stuff and talking. I like talking about tricking things, and so gatherings are the perfect place for that. Yeah, I'd say the community is still pretty similar. Like everyone gets on when you actually are on the ground at an event. Everyone is getting on, having a great time, loving the tricks, celebrating each other's tricks. That stuff has stayed the same, really. There's a bit more professionalism with stuff like Hooked. They've really raised the bar there with the way they've put on battles. They've been the most impressive like night shows that I've seen. But yeah, pretty similar overall, I'd say.
What are your favorite gatherings, and what's the worst gathering you ever been to? But don't say names, so we aren't calling people out. Just like the aspects of a really bad gathering.
I can call them out. No. Not in a mean way, but no. So the best gathering. Sorry, I'm getting looked at here. No, the best gathering was Loot Kicks 2017. I've had a lot of really fun, amazing gatherings, but that was just a special one for me because my body was working really well. I landed my first dub there, which is something I'd wanted for a really long time. Like my goals aren't so much twist based now, but back then I really did want to do dub just to have done it. And I finally got it at a hype session at Loot Kicks, which is amazing. On the tour as well. So I'd been traveling for a month and a half, so I'd really got to know everyone I was traveling with. So just loads of friends. And then King of the Floor as well happened at that gathering. And then I won King of the Floor. My team won, and I won the MVP. I got the most points out of everyone. So it was a good gathering for me. Yeah. And oh yeah, the worst one. Okay, I think my worst. There's been a lot of different ones. My worst gathering experience. I forgot which year. I think it was 2018. I think before I broke my ankle. Yeah, the breaking the ankle at the gathering was bad, but this was a rock bottom situation. Was probably going to Tricks Rail gathering in Israel because the day before I was in France teaching a workshop, and I did a load of tricks after the workshop. Which it was a good session, but then later on that day, my back just gave out, and I could like barely walk. I was there we go. Yeah, I was hobbling around. My back was all like locked up, so I was in loads of pain. And then there was a problem with my flight, so I thought, oh, maybe I won't be going to this. It's probably for the best because my back is destroyed. But I ended up going, and it was a 4.5 hour flight to Israel with my back destroyed. Felt terrible. I arrived at 4 a.m. They drive me to the gym. The gym's on the third floor in an industrial estate in a warehouse. The 2 floors below are just abandoned, like dusty, some smashed windows. They take me to this gym that's on the 3rd floor. It's covered in dust, and it's just on an industrial estate in Israel at 4 a.m. And then they just leave me there by myself with nothing. and like my back's destroyed as well. I was like, that was my most rock bottom gathering experience. I was like, why have you left me here? Why was this your plan? Why'd you invite me here and leave me in the gym by myself? It wasn't fun. It was funny. I remember calling people and laughing about it, about how they left me in this gym and like filming around, and it's like there's like broken windows and just by the train tracks. But yeah, that wasn't that fun. And then another rock bottom experience was when I judged the Swedish tricking championships 2017, and it was in November in Sweden. There was no heating in the gym, and I had some other injury then in like my oblique or something, and we had to sleep on mats in the gym, and it was freezing cold. And I'd just come back from America after battling adrenaline, and I was injured and stuff, and yeah, that was bad. Yeah, flew straight from America, so I was exhausted. That was a pretty rock bottom experience. Those are my most rock bottom ones. What about you? What's your worst one?
I haven't been to many gatherings actually, but the first Tricktoberfest I went to in Denver was a little unorganized, and like everybody was at the bar and party when they said there's gonna be a gym session here. So I went to the gym session, and there's still like gymnasts and people that are like, "What are you doing in here?" Uh, they had no idea there's a gathering happening tomorrow. So there's just let miscommunication between the gathering and myself.
Yeah, I don't know. It's part of it. It's part of tricking gatherings that sort of thing happens. I don't know. I just remembered my last hooked as well. It was really fun, but we went out on one of the nights. We were just like walking around the town. Got back at around 3 a.m. and I went to. I hadn't really sorted where I was sleeping because I was gonna be sleeping at the gym. They had like an area for guests, but then I thought, oh, I'll just go to the hotel with these guys. I'm sure there'll be something. I'm sure I can lie on a couch or something. There was nothing. So so I was just lying on a flat floor, like just a hard floor, no carpet, lying on a hard floor, no covers, all my clothes and my coat on. And what I was doing is like every half an hour, because I was so cold, I'd just start doing push-ups, and I'd just try and do like 40 push-ups so that I'd be warm. And I hope that if I did enough push-ups, that I'd be warm enough to go to sleep, and then I'd be good. It was a bad night. That was a bad night. But it was good for perspective, to be honest. It showed me, I was like, yeah, this is how some people have to live, sleeping rough. It's not that easy. And it made me, like, I think about that night now quite often. Whenever I'm lying in bed, I think about that night, me lying on the floor with no rug or anything. And I'm like, I'm so lucky that I'm going to sleep in a bed tonight. And I try and think about that before I go to sleep. It feels quite nice.
Yeah, it helps you appreciate what you have. Just
It
do
does.
push-ups, just stay
Yeah.
warm.
It
I've done.
was a lot of fun. That gathering, it was my fault. It was all my own fault for not organizing myself. The next night, then I slept in the guest area, but I didn't have any covers. And they did have covers for the guests. Not my dumb ass, I just didn't ask. I didn't ask about the covers. I was just like, oh, I'll just go to bed. It'll be fine. Because I couldn't be bothered to find an organizer to ask about the covers. So I got a mattress from another bed, and I put the mattress on top of myself, and I was like in a mattress sandwich. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous how I was doing that. I didn't need to do it. I could have asked, and they had covers. But yeah, this is like a guide in how not to do gatherings from me. This is me after going to 40 gatherings, and I'm sleeping between two mattresses. Ridiculous. Learned nothing all this time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds terrible.
it was. It was.
Uh, in a technical aspect, what are some tricks that haven't really been explored that you would like to see in the community?
Good question, because there's a lot of them. I'll tell you what, I didn't actually do the post about it, but I predicted a lot of the ones that have happened recently. I had a video in 2017 with me and Sean from the Garrison talking about what tricks will happen in the future, and I said there'll be a gainer helicoptero that's hypered with the head dropped, and it will look like a weird pseudo double gainer. Said that would be a thing. It's a thing. I said about that the double GMS one would be attempted. It's been attempted. And I predicted a lot of things. And the front swing Cali roll, I talked about how that was going to become like one of the top tricking. But in the future, I like the pseudo double flips a lot. I think there's a lot more to be explored with them, like the off-axis shant out kind of thing. I know some people see it as just, oh, that's a bad back out, but it's really not. It's a whole new thing. It's its own thing. It looks cool. If you look at it through the lens of this is a back out done wrong, then yeah, it's not good. But you could do the same. You could do the same with lots of things. You could look at a gainer semi and say, oh, that's an Arabian done badly. And it's like, yeah, but it's not meant to be an Arabian. It's a different move. And I think the shant out is just a different trick, and loads can be done with it because it's so much safer and so much easier. You could do like rodeos in it. If you can D-leg out of a trick, you can shuriken out of a trick, which means you can shuriken cutter. There could be a full-in late shuriken cutter. And I just think there's a lot of potential with that axis where you progress from a late 9 and kind of turn that late 9 into a lot of different flips. You turn it into a B-twist, aerial, some kind of swipe, lots of grabs. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to talk about any tricking tech stuff without visual examples, I found, because it just sounds like a load of words.
I'm keeping up.
No, I feel like most people struggle. I try and avoid it. Like I did a podcast with the Talking Tricks guys about tricking technique, and yeah, it is hard to. I just feel like no one's understanding what I'm saying when I go off on it.
Yeah, dude, a lot of people are like talking shit about Andrew's corking, and yeah. It's just so sad to see. Like he didn't get that. He didn't deserve that much hate like that.
No, I think people just need to look at it through a different lens. Like I don't know if you've seen it, but I did a whole video on corkings. I did a critical eye on it, on corking backouts, and I put them into like different tiers, kind of. And that style, that class of corking, I think it's still a really cool thing. I think it's a revolutionary thing. It's pretty much marking a whole new way to learn a back out of a trick, which is going to open up so many doors in tricking. It allows us to safely train and build the awareness for corking back out without taking on the massive risk that it is to go straight over your head. And it means it's much easier to combo it, as the trick's just easier to do because it's more off axis. So it can be done in way harder ways. I'd much rather see Shosei, like Shosei did dub, swing, corking, shant out, kind of. That if he was just thinking like one-dimensionally, he was like, I can only go straight over my head into a backflip, that combo wouldn't have been landed for like years. Like that wouldn't be happening until like 2025, dub swing, corking back out. But because he thinks in a way where he like just makes it happen, he adapts technique to make it happen. That's why it exists. That's why a lot of the top trickers are the top trickers, because they're prepared to change technique to make it more efficient. And then once they find that more efficient technique, they can tweak it to make it look better and more normal. Yeah, I don't know. I find that stuff interesting, like how techniques evolved over the years. And yeah, people like Shosei's at the forefront of it. Making stuff easy is what he does. It's not that he is insanely powerful, but also his special skill is he doesn't look at tricks the way other people are trying them and then try and do the same thing with more power. He just kind of reinvents it in a way that works for him. He just thinks, okay, they're doing it like that, but if I do it this way, it's way easier. And even though some people might not think it's legit, it is way easier. And once something's easy, then you can refine it and you can make it look nicer. So that's the right way around to learn. Build awareness, make it easy, make it efficient, and then make it look how you want it to look.
That's a very good way to put it. I might actually like implement that more into my training too.
I think awareness is really, like, I didn't think that much in that way as much before, but after trying to improve my tutorials and get better and better at teaching stuff, awareness does truly come first. If you think of think about doing a cork on your bad side. I don't know if you've ever tried that. Have you?
It's not fun.
Yeah, but that's not because it's not because you don't understand the technique, because you do it on your good side, and it's not because you don't have the power, because you've got the same body. Your body's powerful enough to do cork on that bad side, but you can't land it because you don't have the air awareness. And when you try something to your bad side, it shows you air awareness is way more important than technique or power when it comes to learning new tricks. The technique and power come in the future if you want to do more with them and like variate them and get really good at them. But when it comes to landing, if you're just trying to learn that new movement, awareness is all you need to think about, really. That's what's most important.
All right, so let's talk about Kojos Trick Lab,
Oh yeah.
your which is doing so many good things, helping even out the playing field for people that are just starting out. So like every idea starts with a thought, and when did that idea of creating K.T.L start?
So it kind of naturally progressed into what it is. I mean, there was a time when it decided to make it into like brand it as that and make it into a website, but I was already doing. So I was getting a lot of messages from people asking for advice on tricks because people were seeing me in the Plan Zero videos and stuff, and people kept asking me for advice on tricks. And I did do tricking coaching, so I'd respond to all the DMs and try and give as much advice as I could. But at the time, I was working a lot. I was just working most days and training a lot. I was just quite busy, and I just thought, well, I would rather. If I charge, then I can have, because people offered me money to like coach them online, like before I'd ever advertised it. And I was like, damn, people will pay me for this. Okay, if I make that thing, if I start offering online coaching, then I can like work a little less and I can spend some time doing that because I enjoy looking at people's clips and helping them out with it. And if I can make money from it, then I can dedicate more time to it. So I started doing that. I got to about, within the first like month and a half, I got like 25 students, and I found myself teaching the same information again and again. And then I made short videos for like unlisted on YouTube so that I could share the same information without having to just type it out again. And then I thought, I was manually getting people like to send the payment every month. And I thought if I just had a subscription thing set up, that would be great. And if people could see if the videos were all in one place and they paid the subscription, so I didn't have to link it to them every time, that would be great too. And then just from meeting with Jay Fung, who's my business partner, who's more into the web side of things, then I don't know how we got talking about it, but yeah, the idea of starting this website that he'd design and I'd do the content for came up. And then, yeah, it seemed like a good idea. I thought it could work. It did work. Yeah. So I quit my job before launching it, and I was like, I'm just going to make this as good as I can. I'm just going to try my best and make it happen. Luckily, I had a lot of freedom to do that because my rent was very low and I don't spend much money. Like I'd cycle everywhere. That, like before that, when I first left my office job, then I just had my bike and I'd cycle to and from the gym to work and train every day. It'd be 10 miles going there, 10 miles back. I just cycle around the city all the time. There was a time where I was cycling for like 2 hours plus, like every day, just to get around everywhere. So I don't really spend much money on anything, on transport, and I don't buy things. I don't buy clothes. Yeah, people will be able to tell because I have the same clothes in videos from like 4 years ago. Yeah, so it meant that I could do that. I didn't have to worry about not being able to pay rent because I knew that it's not that hard for me to not spend money. Yeah, and then I edited all the videos for K.T.L for the first year. I did put out 6 videos a week. I knew there needed to be a mass of videos on there for people to want to pay for it. It would have to be much, much better than what's available on YouTube. Because when you're competing with something that's free, you can't just be a little bit better. It needs to be significantly better. And one of the main things that I think made it work, made it like possible in that first year, is I'd respond, and I still do now, I guess. I respond to everyone who DMs me. And I'd actually put out, if people want free like tricks advice, I'd give them advice. So people would send me their clips. And after I've spent, it might have happened over the course of weeks or months, but because I responded and tried to give detailed advice, like with screenshots, and tried to help everyone with their tricks, then people would appreciate that, I think. There'd be like 40 minutes or an hour of his time helping me for free. So maybe I'll support what he does. You know, he's given me an hour of his time for free trying to help me out. I'll put like, you know, I'll spend £10 towards his website. And I think that was the biggest thing that made it successful, because I was responding to every single person every day.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, because I would always ask advice from other trickers and they just leave me on read. Like, darn, can't get any help, but you were always there to help me out, which is really nice.
Yeah, which I like, and I get that at the same time, because it's like, if it's not your job, it can be a lot. When lots of people are asking you, it can be a lot to keep up with. You know, if you've already got a lot of stuff going on in your life, then it's kind of like an unpaid job. But even though I wasn't getting paid, and even like when people message me asking for advice, even though they're not paying me, I do still see it as it's part of my job, because that is what leads to K.T.L being able to succeed. So I do still see, even though it's not direct, like I do see it as paid work, as part of my day, you know.
I see that you're funding gatherings and creating like a funding program and stuff. It's super cool and really helping the community. But is there anything big future you want to go with K.T.L that you have in your mind that you like to explore more?
Lots of things, always. There's lots of plans in lots of different areas of my life. But with K.T.L, the main ones, like right now, I mean, we made some big moves tomorrow. I guess I can't announce everything yet, but there's going to be a full-time editor, which is going to free up a lot more of my time. Even though we have editors, it's just, there's a lot of management that goes, there's a lot of like reviewing and making changes to try and make the videos good. When I'm just working with one person, then I can just try and train them up as much as possible so that they don't need as much of my time and attention. And I'm going to start working with less trickers as well, but working with really good ones. Like, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff with Tiki Wu, because out of everyone I've met, he thinks about tricks in the most technical way. He thinks about the minor little details, whereas a lot of really good trickers actually don't. That's not how they approach it. Tiki approaches it very similar to me. Tiki approaches tricking like me. I just see it like, Tiki's like what I would be if I'd started as a child, had a load of trampolines, so I was really small, and I started tricking at that point. If I didn't start when I was already 17 years old and 6 feet tall, I'd be like Tiki Wu, I think, because we have very similar approaches.
I see. Would you ever consider creating like a certificate system? Because World Improving Parkour Federation, that's what it's called. They have their own like coaching certificates for like parkour. Would you ever consider making a K.T.L tricking coaching certificate?
That's that's one of the other plans. But one thing, back to the K.T.L plan, I forgot to mention as well. I do want to get into doing very long form, high production value, like tricking movies. Next year we want to do a movie. I've already talked to Sean about it, who made Big, because there's going to be a Euro tour next summer. We've got a lot of meetings to do to figure out how we're going to go about it, but we want to do I want to make a better film than Big from this tour. I want K.T.L to produce that sort of thing. The kind of things that only a tricking platform could do. Like, an individual wouldn't have the resources and the incentive and the time to make it happen. But we can do it. I think that's the way to succeed. You got to do things only you can do. Ultimate Guides, I saw them as something only I can do. Like, having When Adrenaline Paid, told Mike Guthrie he can't work with me. That's what inspired me to do them, because I was like, they're not going to pay anyone to spend over 100 hours on a single video. No one's going to spend over 100 hours on a video just for YouTube for free. But I have, about 10 years tricking experience, and I'm prepared to spend over 100 hours on one video. So that's something that only I can offer. And I think when you focus on things that only you can do, that's when you succeed. So that's why I want to get the tricking film done. But onto the coaching certificate thing. So that's actually my other business that I'm working on, which is Sam Kojo Coaching, because I want all of that stuff to be 100% me. I'm not splitting it because it's all my work. So it's not going to be Kojos Trick Lab. I've been working on that for about 6 or 7 months, and I've got a whole curriculum, and I'm working on the actual physical book part of it, which is going to have. It does a lot of explaining with the whole curriculum thing. It's a whole thing. It's like 100 pages long, and it links every trick together through progressions. Basically, the goal of the curriculum is so that someone who doesn't know much about tricking, who can't do the tricks themselves, can teach a tricking class effectively, because the progressions are very, very small, and you don't need a spring floor, you don't need crash mats. You could just learn it on a dojo floor with tiny progressions. The progressions all link together. Each student will have a book that shows them the progressions with picture examples, and also a QR code they can scan to see a trick, an example of the trick on YouTube on an unlisted video. It'll be mirrored so you can see it on both sides. So you can instantly get a video example of every progression for every trick. They all link together in a massive web because there's a lot of shared progressions. Like a progression for B-twist is also a progression for Webster and for aerial semi and illusion twist, bunch of other things. That's the whole thing that I'm working on doing. I want to roll out this curriculum around the world because I think tricking could be taught much more efficiently after seeing how it's taught in different places. Some trickers have a really good idea of how to do it, like Mark at Loop Kicks, but just across the world, most tricking classes aren't taught as well as they could be. And I think I could really help tricking gyms do a much better job. I could offer them something where they have structure. They can bring in a new coach who doesn't know much about tricks. The new coach will be able to teach the program effectively without even having much knowledge themselves, because it's simplified and it focuses on awareness, and there's video examples you can get from the book. Students are more engaged as they have a book to follow along with, tick off, get each progression signed off by a coach. So the coach can track what each student can do. One coach might not be teaching all the classes, but they can walk in and they can see exactly what every student can do. Everyone can work on the same trick. We can all work on B-twist today, for example. If one kid can do it, the other kid's never tricked. The kid who's never tricked can work on the first progression. Kid who can do it working on the last one. So it suits all difficulty levels. You don't need much skill to be able to teach it. Yeah, that's the whole thing. I could talk about that for like an hour because it's a whole thing I've been working on a lot and I've thought about a lot. And I'm hoping to launch that just early next year and try and get that out to gyms around the world. Hopefully that will lead to some kind of, I train different gyms coaches how to teach my curriculum. And that's where the certificate part comes in, to answer your question. So that's the whole thing. And part of my motivation behind that is because I do think it creates some real value from the other side. Kojos Trick Lab's for the trickers training themselves. This is going to be for gyms, for like businesses to be able to push tricking that way, the organized, formal side of things, to get parents on board, to get actual kids into tricking. I want to do that side. I want that to be where I make my living. And then K.T.L, it means I can reinvest everything into the community through K.T.L. So that's my goal for next year.
Yeah, making big moves out here.
Yeah, I do a lot of things, actually. Yeah.
It's good. It's good that there's like a solid foundation that you're creating, and it's going to help streamline it more.
That's the plan.
So we're hitting the end of the podcast, and with every guest, I ask them like a random question, like a mystery question. And today's mystery question is, what are 3 questions that you would like to know the answer to, but you don't?
3 questions I'd like to know the answer to, but I don't.
Yep, anything.
I mean, outside of money ones, I'd like to know which crypto is going to blow up. uh,
Yep.
uh, that would be one. I would like to know. It's really, it's really hard actually because it's all too specific. Because it's what would I like to know? Looking at me, I don't know. I don't know. I normally have answers for things. What would I like to know the answer to? I mean, see, I would say something like, "Oh, the meaning of life," but do you want to know the answer to that? Because what if it's terrible? You know, what if it's terrible? What if it ruins everything? Maybe I don't want to know that. To be honest, I don't want that kind of power. I don't know. I don't know. You've stumped me. I'm stumped.
Can you really be anything generic? Or like, who's gonna land Quentin Corch first, or something goofy like that?
Yeah, I wouldn't even want to know though. I'd want to wait and see. No, okay. Who's gonna be? Who I would like to know. I mean, who's going to be the best tricker in 2030? It'd be useful for me to know because then I could get me claws in now, get them teaching, get them prepared, ready to be teaching for Kojos Trick Lab. No, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm terrible. You got me. I ran out of words. I had so many words this whole podcast, and now I'm done.
Yeah, it's a hard question because there's so many things to choose from.
There is so many things, and there's not much that I think about really wanting to know, to be honest. I guess it's because, yeah, I'm always just these. That's why I said, like earlier, I said I was interested in business stuff. That's what I think about most of the time when I'm not thinking about tricks. I like these ideas for, and I don't mean business in terms of making money. I think more about business in terms of creating things. That's what excites me more, like making things happen. That's why the community vault, I want to, like, that's, even though that's not really benefiting me, I'd like to figure out a solution to like make tricking events better and make tricking grow more. So that's kind of an attempt at that, and I want to do more different attempts at that in the future. So I don't know. I'm not normally pondering stuff like that, to be honest.
So the last question in here is, where do you see yourself in life in the next 5 to 10 years that you would like to see yourself to be? And
I would like to see myself living in a house in one place, not moving around all the bloody time. Living in a house with one or maybe two trampolines. So I could go from one trampoline to the other trampoline, you know? Some kind of consistent gym setup. Either, because before I thought like the home spring floor, I was always thinking about the home spring floor. But after COVID and stuff, I've come to appreciate training with people more. I do enjoy, like, my home community in Birmingham. I like going to sessions and seeing the kids go for it, because I kind of I have my own session, and like in between I like shout at the kids and like do this, like lift your elbow and tell them little things, see them get better. I do like it. I used to not like training with people, but now after having to train alone lots, I appreciate it now. I have a different perspective. So maybe not even my own home spring floor, just consistent access to a gym that has good vibes and good people, a house to live in, my partner Scarlett, her to be legally living in the same country as me. And I'm not sure which country I'll be living in, but us to both be able to live in the same country. And me to be making just enough money to afford to drive a car and and train and travel when I want to travel and go out for food sometimes and not worry about bills from various business things. And that's it really. yeah, and then I just want to focus on training. Maybe kids. If I have a kid, it's going to be the best tricker of all time, I think. To be honest, I'm always saying this, but I think so. Because people always, I'll make a clear plan, you know? I'll have a plan. I'll have a 20-year plan, all right? And this kid's going to destroy everyone because you don't want to be one of those pushy, angry parents. You want to make tricking into a game. You want to trick the kid into loving it. That's how you win. That's how you get them. You know, you don't force them. You don't make it something they don't want to do. You like inspire them. You show them things that make them want to improve. You make it when they're in their early stages, like 2-3 years old, all of the training would be in game form. So I'd figure out games that train the motor skills you need for tricking. I just think that I think that I could raise the greatest tricker of all time, but we'll see. We'll see.
Tricking the kid into tricking.
Yeah, you got to trick him. So it's part of it.
All right, so I really appreciate you spending your time to be able to talk with me in this podcast, and you're doing good things right now. You're gonna be in the history books for
thanks.
The amount of stuff you've done for the community. So it was a really nice chat to see how you think about things, and more power to you. Keep doing good things, bro.
I appreciate it. Thank you for listening to me bambling on all this time. I know that I say a lot of words, but yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Yep. Appreciate the interest. Appreciate the support of K.T.L. I've been trying really hard at it for a long time, so I appreciate anyone who supports it in any way.
All right. Have a nice day. Thanks for talking.
Okay. You too. And let me know when this goes up, and I'll share it.
Oh, sweet. Yep. All right. See you later.
Take care.